What you are about to hear will blow your mind and give you six-pack abs without even exercising.
Pull up a bar stool and relax.
Hey, who wants to have some fun?
You've made it to Happy Hour with John Gaskins.
Oh, no. Not again.
Get ready for entertaining local and regional sports talk that will change your life. Or not.
And by the way, when you're telling these little stories, here's a good idea. Have a point. It makes it so much more interesting for the listener.
Here's your host, John Gaskins.
Here's Johnny. Hello! Ah!
I'm back, baby! I'm back!
Hey, happy hour on a Monday. It's game week, finally. Hallelujah. I've got a lime hard seltzer from Costco to celebrate. It's delicious, thank you. And the Jacks and the Yotes kick off their season on Saturday. And in a moment, I'll tell you the stat not talked about nearly enough when it comes to South Dakota State's super freak, Chase Mason. He has a lot of wow numbers attached to his name, but I have one stat that may be the most important as the season starts Saturday. Augie and USF start Thursday. Our Sioux Falls metro area high schools on Friday. We'll have on KSFL TV and Midwest Sports Plus the app, the Howard Woodfield doubleheader at 5 on Friday. Zach Borg, who's done a bang-up job in those Camp Confidential prep football previews. You can find it at SiouxFallsLive.com. Zach has the calls of Washington and Rapid City Central, then O'Gorman and Lincoln on Friday. I'll be in Harrisburg Saturday night for the Tiger Bowl on Midwest Sports Plus. Jefferson and Harrisburg, two state title contenders. Second-year Cavs coach Eric Struck will stop by later in this show. An hour north of Harrisburg on Saturday, same kickoff time, 6 o'clock. Dan Jackson's second season begins in Brookings, and we chatted with him for over a half hour today. Lots of up-to-date insight for Jacks fans on the hottest topics. It should be a bloodbath against Stetson. They are 47.5-point favorites against the lowest-rated team in the FCS last year. USD, meanwhile, has a much more challenging game against an 8-5 playoff team, Central Connecticut State, 1 o'clock in the Dome, and new head coach Matt Vitztham joins us tomorrow, and we'll talk plenty of Yotes then. But let's start our first happy hour game week of 2026 by locking in on the absolute number one story, number one player to watch in this state all season long, and it's not even close. It's Chase Mason. Physical specimen. Looks like a Jack superhero. Rocket arm. Runs like a deer. Just a stick of dynamite waiting to explode. We all know that. And this is it. His last chance to not just be the golden boy, but have a golden year. A Walter Payton Award, bringing the FCS National Championship Trophy back to Brookings. That's why he came back and turned down 7-figure legit offers from the Big Ten and the SEC. And he wants to get as high on that NFL draft board as he possibly can. And there is zero reason to believe that he won't dazzle, that the Jacks offense won't be more explosive, that he won't be, at least in the room, at the Walter Payton Award ceremony. And SDSU won't at least be in the semifinals, one win away from Nashville. They're picked preseason number 3. For one, look at him and watch last year's highlights. 2, you want stats? Sure. Perhaps you've memorized them, but in case you haven't. 6'4", 240 pounds, clocked recently at 22 miles an hour. That equates to somewhere around the 4.4 in the 40. With him last year, Jacks, 37 points a game, 8-1. Only loss in the playoffs to Montana, third best team in the country. Without Chase Mason, SDSU averaged fewer than 20 points a game and went 1-4. In 9 games, he threw 15 touchdown passes, ran for 6 TDs, 223 passing yards a game, 9 per attempt. That's 2 yards more than the NFL average. It means he's completing passes downfield at a high level. And he completed 65% of his passes, 1% higher than the NFL average. And he racked those up against not just tomato cans, but Montana State, the defending champ, against New Hampshire in the snow in the playoffs, nearly perfect. Montana, 370-plus yards in the loss. None of those stats to me were nearly as important as the one stat of Chase Mason's that was glaringly low. The number 4. That's how many interceptions he threw. 4 picks in 9 games, 4 picks in 224 attempts, 2 of them against Montana when he had to get risky because they had to keep up. But just take a moment to think about the bigger picture. His first year as a starting college quarterback, his first year starting at quarterback, period, in 6 years, and he threw only 4 interceptions in 9 games. To me, that stat about what Chase Mason didn't do is just as important, if not more, than the bright, shiny stats of what he does do. Matt Zimmer wrote a Chase Mason feature over the weekend at Sioux Falls Live and mentioned that he was good last year, but that his accuracy was not at an NFL level. And that's ultimately what kept previous SDSU quarterbacks like Mark Gronowski and Taryn Christian from getting drafted. Now, keep in mind, Mason completed 65% of his passes, as I said, 1% above the NFL average. But if you watched some games, you saw him at times rocket throws over heads and hands. He has the occasional clunker. But here's his coach, Dan Jackson, today, when I asked him about what he has seen of Mason spring and fall in the last 2 weeks since we last talked to Dan to improve the accuracy and improve that draft stock.
I challenge the accuracy comment. I guess there's times if you come watch us at practice, you know what he's not going to do is throw a ball somewhere that he shouldn't. He is accurate. He's probably the most accurate passer that I've seen, and I get to see him on a day-to-day basis. So if he needs to fit it into a window, he can get it there in a hurry and he can place it. Anyways, but I get a chance to see him every day. Not everybody does. So I would say that he's in a good place. He's improved a ton. Definitely his ability to move the pocket, run when he needs to. He looks so much more comfortable creating with his legs, and then throwing the ball. So he's made some really, really big strides. I can't wait. He's healthy. I'm proud of him. He's going to have a great fall.
So there's Dan Jackson. Eric Eidsness talked about it with me a couple of weeks ago. There's footwork, there's reading defenses, processing before the play. He's even better. Not mastered yet, but even better at the little things that get you into NFL camps and get you drafted. Now, did you notice what Dan said early in that clip? It is what Chase Mason does not do. He does not make the big mistake. 4 picks, 224 attempts, 9 games. So Saturday at Stetson, and most likely all season long, whether the Jacks are playing teams like Stetson or New Haven or Murray State, Northern Iowa, or if they're playing the biggest obstacles, Youngstown State, Illinois State, UND, USD. The Super Freak will be full of superhero highlights and stats. This offense is going to be far more explosive than last season if his top downfield threat, Lofton Negroski, stays healthy, and there's even more than last year. Weapons. But how often Chase continues to prevent the big mistake in those tight games against the best teams and then in the playoffs will determine if he hoists the Walter Payton Trophy and the National Championship Trophy in January. And by the way, Beau Brungard, in winning the Walter Payton Award last year, 26 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, 1 less pick in 6 fewer games than Chase Mason. And the kid who guided Montana State to the national title, Justin Lamson, same numbers, 26 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. That's what it takes. So Mason has to be even better at avoiding picks to take home the hardware. And oh, by the way, Brungard, like Mason, a running machine if he has to be. He had over 1,400 yards rushing, about 100 a game. Chase only ran for 174 all year in 9 games. We didn't see the breakaways that we saw when he came in some Wildcat plays as Mark Gronowski's backup. But a few more of those, of the big hitters, 100-yard games, rushing, and it will be a special season. Lamson, by the way, ran for about half of what Brungard ran for, but when in a pickle, he could beat you with his legs as well. We know Chase can do it. His line, his weapons, more and better. Avoid the big mistake. This could be quite a season. It will be quite a season. And now with more, it's Dan Jackson time.
It's still happy hour with John Gaskins, so go ahead, have another.
Man, it feels awfully good for these words to fly out of my mouth. It is game week for season 2 of the Dan Jackson era at South Dakota State, and we'll be chatting with the head coach every Monday. And so with the exception of the bye week in the smack dab middle of the season, from here to forth, we'll be chatting about a game that was played on Saturday. And that is so awesome. So it's good to see Dan in his office on a Monday. I know he's ready to go for Stetson at 6 p.m. on Saturday. And just, digging through social media, SDSU football, social media, things that are happening right now, even since we last chatted with you almost 2 weeks ago at Media Day, Dan. Stuff like John Stiegelmeier joining and talking with the team about a week ago, and some former players came by to announce some new scholarships for guys, I believe on Saturday. Just what kinds of things have been going on that make you more excited for the season?
Correct. Yeah, the fall camp never stops, so there's always something, each day. Coach Stig actually, so we do team meetings every day during fall camp, and I'll run those, or different coach, or we'll have somebody from campus come in. So President Dunn has spoke to the team within the last week. Justin Sell, our athletic director, and his wife, Jenny Sell, who runs our academics, they were at practice and were able to get in front of the team. Coach Stiegelmeier is always one of my favorites, and so he got to talk to the team. I think it's so important that the players, this is really the last class of guys that would have either played or been recruited by Stig going through. So I want to make sure that our younger players know who he is. And then our former players doing a really good job supporting the team. And they're in front of our guys quite a bit. And our players understand the importance of the brotherhood and the family and the fraternity that exists for them when their careers are over. But for them to come back and award some scholarships is meant everything, because a lot of guys that are in the JFPA may have started as a walk-on, and they remember what it's like to earn a scholarship. And I think it's also a good reminder that it's not all about NIL. And in a world where we get caught up in fancy cars and how many millions of dollars, there's still kids out there working really hard that can get brought to tears for a scholarship. And so it was a lot of fun to have our JFPA back. There were some cool names and faces back to help announce those.
Yeah, I mean, Zach Center gave out the running back scholarship to Brendan Bagaman, so that was pretty cool. The videos out there on SDSU football, you can sense and feel the excitement, the brotherhood in the room. But take us there, just like the goosebumps it gives everybody who's in that room when these guys in front of their whole team learn that they've earned a scholarship. The guys who've been walking on, many of them for years. Yeah,
what you feel in those moments is the team is really close, and our walk-ons and scholarship players, you wouldn't know if you came to practice or a workout. There's no divide or division between those two groups, and our walk-on players get the same locker and gear and food and meals that we would provide to anybody. But the locker room, when they become so close that the players end up knowing who's on scholarship or a walk-on or who's working so hard, or we talk a lot about what somebody's why might be or why they're doing this or what drives them to be a jackrabbit. And oftentimes our non-scholarship players talk about wanting to earn a scholarship, and this was their dream to play at South Dakota State. And you look at a Bowden Schiller, for instance, just right here from Volga. I mean, this was his dream. This is what he grew up wanting to do, and he got an opportunity to walk on, and now to actually earn the scholarship, not just have it be handed to him, to earn it for his play and his merit. That's really validating. And so the rest of the team is so excited for those guys because they see how hard they work. And then the emotions, those guys don't know that that's coming. I actually was talking to a couple of them the day before about just telling them to keep working hard and maybe they can get it, and then the next day they earned it. So it was fun to see those things, and then their families, when they're calling back home and calling their mom and dad and getting the scholarship, that's also telling them that they earned the scholarship is also a very emotional time.
Yeah. Well, it's one element of building chemistry and culture, words used so often, but understandably so important to any business, any team, a football operation with over 100 players and a bunch of coaches and staff as well. I'm curious, though, this is the time of year where everybody's undefeated. Everybody's so excited to go. And most teams, even teams that were lousy last year, might say, well, the culture and chemistry is great. It's never going to be higher than it is right at the start of the year. In your experience, And if you'd like to point it out specifically, fine, or you can be vague about it. But how easily can a chemistry or a culture be challenged, especially early in the season, especially maybe a lot of teams you've played or coached for, SDSU, Northern Illinois, Vandy, Idaho, where they were expected to be really good, as you guys are. And then early on, stuff starts happening. The offense fails the defense or vice versa. Stuff goes wrong, especially in games where teams are favored. Your team is favored to win or favored to win by a lot, and you have trouble getting to the finish line. How do you prevent culture and chemistry from breaking down? And have you seen it break down?
The culture and the chemistry, if it's based on the results of a game, then you don't really have very strong culture and chemistry to begin with. Our players care about each other in this program way beyond the wins and the losses. If that was the JFPA wouldn't exist if this program was just about the wins and the losses, because there's a lot of guys that were involved in that group that may have won 5 or 6 games in a year, and maybe they didn't. I mean, there's only been 2 teams win the national championship, but there's a lot of strong teams and groups that have been here. And so anyways, I would say first for us heading into this year, we're worried about one day at a time. And our players are so mature now, and our leaders are helping carry the message that they're not so much worried about the results. They understand that if they put in the work on a day-to-day basis and we play as the most disciplined, physical, connected team in the country on Saturdays, we're going to like those results more often than not, and we'll be able to live with the results, as long as we play to our best. So we're focusing on maximizing every second with each other, playing our best football all the time, whether it's Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday of practice or Saturday of game day. Let's focus on how we can get better and improve. Let's be honest with each other. Let's block out any sort of noise. As much as I love you, John, I mean, whatever you and people on Twitter say mean nothing. It absolutely means nothing.
Break my heart.
Now, yeah, to us. And so I love that so many people are interested, because we're doing something cool, right? We get the chance to play football and at a university with a lot of standards. But for us, we're focused on being our best, blocking out outside noise. There hasn't been a perfect football game played yet. So we're going to try our best to put one together this Saturday, but or this year, but there'll always be something to improve on. And yeah, I think from a culture standpoint, our culture was tested a year ago, and we made it through some challenging times. So I'm not really worried about the culture being tested as much as us just playing our best football.
Sure. You mentioned one day at a time, and Stig's big thing is go 1-0 today or this week or whatever. And he was there about a week ago to speak to the team. What was his message this time around to the 2026 Jacks?
His message was centered around belief, which is not foreign to our players, because when you work for Coach Stig for as long as I did, and when you then break off to other programs, you learn things from other programs and you grow. But, your foundation of what you learned as a college football coach was Coach Stig. And so I've carried a lot of the same vernacular. Our players, we talk about belief all the time, and it isn't belief needing proof. It's a little bit more of a concept of faith, of believe in one another, believe that you can win every game, believe that everybody's an All-American, believe that you have the best position coach and head coach and strength coach in the country. And so he talked to them about the power of belief and not waiting to believe. And then maybe one of the cooler messages I thought was he asked the team, who was going to be the one that steps up to win the big game this year. And, he gets asked a lot of questions about how we're going to be. And his point was that it may not be somebody that's even on the field. It's the guy that's on the scout team or the guy that's given the look. And how important is the scout team's safety giving Chase Mason the best look that he can get? And if that look is game-like on Tuesday and Wednesday, then Chase will play well on Saturday, and that scout team player that didn't even play in the game really helped us win. And so he talked a lot about the value that everybody provides on a football team and how they all help us win.
Well, you mentioned Chase. That's the cracked door to question number one of the actual season about him. Of course, Jackrabbits are picked strongly to win the Missouri Valley Football Conference. I know you don't care. And third in the polls nationally to start the season. And a big reason why is Chase. And we all know how great he was. Really good numbers last year as a junior. 15 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. We know his freak athletic ability, his speed, his strength, the zip he puts on the ball, accuracy, as Matt Zimmer pointed out in a Chase Mason season preview story at Sioux Falls Live. Accuracy not at an NFL level, but that's what he's been working on. Reps to sharpen his touch, working on footwork, ball trajectory, routes, reading defenses, making checks at the line, all of that kind of stuff. What have you seen just in the last couple of weeks as we get to an actual game week against an actual defense? An update on what to expect out of Chase starting on Saturday.
Yeah, he's ready to go. I challenge the accuracy comment. I guess there's times if you come watch us at practice, you know what he's not going to do is throw a ball somewhere that he shouldn't. He is accurate. He's probably the most accurate passer that I've seen, and I get to see him on a day-to-day basis. So if he needs to fit it into a window, he can get it there in a hurry and he can place it. Anyways, but I get a chance to see him every day. Not everybody does. So I would say that he's in a good place. He's improved a ton. Definitely. His ability to move the pocket, run when he needs to. He looks so much more comfortable creating with his legs and then throwing the ball. So he's made some really, really big strides. I can't wait. He's healthy. I'm proud of him. He's going to have a great fall.
Right. I think maybe it was just purely based on 64% completion, which is really good, but we're talking about last year. You're talking about what you've seen since the end of last year. Last year, people were asking me if he knew how to play quarterback. It's kind of a little bit what I'm talking about. Yeah, I mean, a year ago, people didn't know he could take a snap or read a defense or throw a ball. We thought he just couldn't do it. Now all of a sudden, he's the greatest thing. So I just know this. He's continually getting better. He's constantly improving. He is really evolved as a leader. His communication skills have really improved. And I'm talking about on the field with communicating what he's seeing and helping the receivers get on the same page, O-line, checking protections, checking plays. I mean, I've been really proud of his communication skills on the field, but even off the field, I've really seen him grow in speaking up more in team meetings and talking to the staff and really making sure that everything's how it needs to be. I mean, even over fall camp, I mean, he stops in here quite a bit, but just to check in on the schedule or give a suggestion here, he's really comfortable communicating, and he's right most of the time. So he's made some big strides. This would be, I would tell you this, if somebody doesn't have season tickets yet, I would get them because you're going to miss an opportunity to watch one of the better players we've had come through here if you don't get them. I've been told he's maybe the funniest player on the team. Is he up there for you?
He could be goofy, around those guys. He can definitely crack some jokes. I think he's pretty entertaining too. Not in a comedian way. I think he's himself, and I think he's very perceptive, and so maybe drops a line on you that you wouldn't have been expecting from time to time, just because he's paying attention to everything, even if you didn't think he was. He's paying attention.
Yeah. Well, we talked a couple weeks ago about the offense. Last year, they put up some good numbers, but lacked explosion, and that includes the first 7 games when your stick of dynamite, Chase Mason, was at quarterback. And you said drives would stall in the red zone too often, partly because they took too long. There wasn't an explosive play before they got to the end zone or the red zone. What's been the cure-all? I mean, I'm sure Eric Eisness is trying to draw up more explosive plays, but I'm sure they're already there. They just haven't exploded. What can we expect to be different?
Great question, because it's not necessarily different plays. There's a lot of times on film that you see a play that you would have hoped would have been 50 yards or 40 yards, and it was 20 or 30. And there's some physical things there. We have faster players. I mean, on the whole, when you look at just pure speed numbers, we have developed speed, whether it's in the weight room with Coach Morris and or on the field in strength training, or just in recruiting. We've got some faster players now. And then the understanding of how to take advantage of defense is much better, specifically with the running backs, but also the receivers and tight ends. Where defenses are weak, that leads to an explosive play. And we didn't block well enough, but we definitely didn't read defenses well enough in the run game to be able to hit the big play. And then in the pass game, we needed to get more consistent on just having a little more altitude on passes to be able to let receivers run underneath them, probably call some more shots down the field. When Lofton got hurt, maybe we could have continued to open it up and throw the ball down the field. Lofton and Alex Bullock were very different players, skill set wise, but I think we could have continued to throw the ball to Graham and Lofton and even Jack Smith just down the field. So we've learned a lot as coaches, and we're going to take more shots. Our quarterbacks are throwing the deep ball better. Our backs and O-line are working more in sync. So it will translate into that is the key to playing great offense in today's college football is explosive plays. 15, 20 play drives are they're great, but you'd love to have I'd take 3 to 5 play touchdown drives all day.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned a lack of explosive running plays. Sometimes the running back didn't see the right place to go. And, of course, it feels like Eric Eidsness even said, doesn't feel like, he said, it feels like we're going to have a running back by committee this year, and that maybe it'll sort itself out before game one. But what update do you have on who the primary guy is going to be and who we can expect at least to be the two guys who will get the bulk of the load?
We will rotate running backs throughout the season, and it won't be a byproduct of us not having one that's good enough. It's just going to be because I believe we actually have multiple guys that are worthy of carrying the football in touching the ball. So I think Josiah Johnson is such a big, physical, smart player. He's evolved his game a ton. And you go back and watch towards the end of the season, he was running the ball very well, and he's done nothing but improve. And so he'll get a lot of touches. And Corey Blair Jr. has become much more consistent and built his body to where he can take the physical toll of playing college football. And he's very confident. He can do a little bit of everything. And Ramon Jr. McKinney can hit the home run, but there's specific plays we want him in there for. And then even sometimes there's guys, James Basinger as well has been very productive. So there's I would tell you that situationally we will play different guys, whether it's pass protection, pass receiving, downhill runs, and they'll all be involved in some of it because we're not going to just have, pure tendency as to who's in that's these plays. But yeah, I would expect to see 3 for sure in games, but I'm hoping we can get in some situations where it's 4 or 5 backs. I've been really impressed. The thing I maybe like the most about the backs is there's, Josiah Johnson's a big downhill runner. Well, so's Brendan Begeman. So if you were to lose Josiah, you got Brendan can do the same thing. We have some different dynamic traits there. Javion Scott is kind of he's a true freshman for us, but he's similar to a Corey Blair build and running style. So it won't be something where if you lose one back, all of a sudden you have to change your offense. You got somebody with similar skill sets. Coach Cooper has done a great job developing that room. That room has come a long ways.
Cool. And, of course, same can be said about the quarterback position. You'd hate to see it, but it happened last year if Chase Mason were hurt. It seems like, again, overall, there seems to be more insurance there in the room. But when it comes to QB2, who's going to be the first guy up, Eidsness told us that's probably going to be a game-week decision. But, again, I'll ask you, what's the latest on Josh Holtz, the transfer from Northern Illinois, and Jack Henry, the man we saw fill in for Chase last year?
It'll be a week-to-week decision. I would like to get those guys involved throughout the week of practice to let them continue to compete, and be able to balance reps. Reps are at a premium during a game week. You don't get as many as you do during a fall camp or a spring ball. So we'll have to structure that right. And I would love to have, even one of those guys, whether Chase is fully healthy or not, I would love to have them involved in the game plan to be able to take some snaps, whether it's at quarterback or other positions, to be able to be creative with some of those guys because we do have talent in that room. We have guys that can run. We've got guys that have played in college football games. And I think when you look at a guy like Jackson Henry, he's kind of got a skill set to do a lot of things. He can run really fast and he can run you over and he can throw it. And he's grown a lot. So I think Holston and Henny are kind of the two guys right now that have emerged through fall camp, but we're never going to put a complete, we want to continue to keep developing Jack Thuey because he had a great fall camp and is coming around as a young player. And Anthony Rezak's been kind of banged up, but he's starting to get healthy again. And so it's fun to have competition in that room, certainly.
You mentioned Lofton Ogroski and the explosiveness taken away by him being hurt. A couple different checkpoints last year, but he missed the last several games. And he's been held out of some practices here in the fall camp, and so have a couple of defensive stars, Dawson Ripperda and Logan Green. What can you tell us about first of all, why have they been held out, and what can you tell us about all those three, their latest health status?
Yeah, they're good to go and play. Through a fall camp, we're balancing getting your guys that have played 1,000 snaps or however many reps. They've had a lot of game reps and experience under their belt, keeping their bodies fresh and healthy, especially if they've had a previous injury that we just want to monitor and make sure that it's progressing how it should be. And then we want to make sure that we get a lot of reps for some guys that haven't played yet. And so, there would be no concern with those players. They've just played a lot of football, and we just want to make sure that they're able to start the season fresh and feeling good. So fall camp's a month long. It's a long time. There's days that sometimes they may even be pads, but you may tell a Graham Goring, hey, you're not doing this 7-on-7 period. We're going to let Landon take more of the reps today or whatever. There's constant almost load management like in the NBA, but only we just do it in practice, not games. And so there's the data that we have and the communication that we have as a staff is trying to make sure we enter the season as healthy as we can while making sure they have the reps they need to be successful. So I thought in the defensive line room and the receiver room especially, there's some very good second-year players that needed a lot of reps that haven't played, and I would rather had seen them than Logan Rip or Lofton.
Yeah, and then there's another one that was hurt really early last year, Reese Kirshenman. We had a chance to chat with him, the pass rusher from T, at Jackrabbit Media Day, and I mean, he kind of detailed how difficult it was for him, as mentally as it was psychologically, to not be able to be out there because he can really wreak havoc. You mentioned to me it was a little further than that. Like, it was traumatic. Do you mind walking through just like what was traumatic about it for him and what it means to have him back?
Injuries affect guys differently, and I do believe that your injured players need you more than your healthy players from a mentoring standpoint and a relationship standpoint. When you have guys missing time, whether it's one practice or a game, so many times we think, and certainly people that aren't involved in the program think, well, he's just out a game, or he's just out 2 games, or he'll be back in 3 games, and it's not that big of a deal. And that's how they're talked about. That's not the case at all. I mean, these kids work extremely hard, and they're here for, yes, to earn a degree, and they love South Dakota State, but their dream is to play football. And the guys that we recruit love football so much, and they're so competitive. If you take one practice from them away, that hurts them. And when they aren't suited up on the sidelines of a game day and they're watching their friends play and their brothers play, or their parents are in the stands and they're not able to see them play, I mean, those things can be very challenging for a young person. Now, in Reese's case, he's just an emotional guy, and that's probably wears that more on his sleeve than most. Some guys hold it in a little bit more, and I was actually thankful that he was open enough to be emotional and be vulnerable with the staff about that. So we spent a lot of time together. Our injured guys, I meet with a lot of our players once a week during the season, but if you're an injured player and you're out for some time, there's a one-on-one time where it's set up to meet with me, and Reese and I thought got really close during that time. So he just loves football. He loves football. It's, it's to be great at something, you almost have to be obsessed with it, and he is. And it was really tough for him because he felt so confident that he was going to have a great year, and for it to be an injury that kept him out so long. Now he's ready to go now. He wasn't really load managed. He had a great fall camp. I don't even ask him about it anymore. If anything, I just have to know where he's at on the field during practice to make sure he stays away from the quarterback, because odds are he's going to win his matchup.
Well, him and his former T area high school teammate Chase Van Tol, a couple of wrecking balls, and Brian Bergstrom mentioned just how elite and special they are, and it sticks out just in how quickly and destructively they can make plays. And of course, Chase missed the last several games last year, so they were in the training room together, which Reese said that helped him in his emotions. But obviously, Chase Van Tol is back, and you've mentioned that he's grown up. He's got the same great raw athletic ability, but he has grown up a lot in the last 12 months. What does that mean? Give us some insight.
just means he's a competitive, physical. He's what you want in a football player too. He doesn't overthink it. He's going to run and strike and do his thing. He loves the game. It's just easy to see with how he plays and how he practices, how much he loves it. When I say he's grown up a lot, I look at, as a football player, his fundamental technical, his footwork, his pad level, his eyes, his technique on how to get off blocks. He's really detailed up how to tackle and secure tackles. And, it's good to be a missile. It's better to just make sure the guy's on the ground and be a missile. He's just, from a football standpoint, really cleaned up his game. And then I just naturally, as you get older, you just kind of mature and grow up a little bit. And he's became very reliable off the field, somebody that you know what you're getting every day. I do believe that is one of the keys to being a great leader, is to just, everybody knows what they're getting every day with you, and we get his best. And he's a funny guy. He's got some great personality as well. So he's a blast. And the camp that he had, I just can't wait for to see him hit somebody else other than our guys and get out there and compete. He's somebody that's worth the price of admission.
Yeah, that linebacking unit, that whole front seven, we've talked about it. We discussed it on Jackrabbit Media Day a couple of weeks ago. I mean, there are some great players who aren't going to get the first snaps, but will be rotating in, both a defensive line and linebacker, and a couple of incredible Wayne State transfers, especially Carter Sitzman up front. But I want to we'll turn the page to the game and the opponent itself on Saturday. And Stetson was 3-9 last year, lowest rated team in the FCS out of 130 plus the Massey rankings. They gave up 20 more points per game than they scored. Their average score last year was 39-19. And I know that was last year. And I know you guys don't want to overlook them. And this, we try to make this a cliche-free zone. And I know you guys are mature, so you're doing everything. Maybe you don't even need to make sure they're not overwhelmingly confident. But what about the Hatters are you guys most concerned about? What have you seen that will be challenging on Saturday?
We're concerned mostly, we're concerned about us. I know that if we play great, it doesn't matter if we're playing Stetson or Montana State. We're going to feel good about outcomes as long as we play to our best. So that would be the first, just principle that way. I would also say this team is primed to make a big jump themselves. Their head coach is early on in his career, and sometimes those, early in your career, you're building a roster. And I don't know, I'm not going to pretend to understand exactly what he was going through in his first year and getting that going. But, certainly I'm sure his staff's going to be on the same page and be a little bit cleaner. So will we. And he's had an opportunity to recruit and start building a team. I think they have some talented junior college players that they've brought in. They have a very good defensive end that's actually a former FBS player that went junior college that can get after the quarterback and pass rush. They returned 2 players that have played a lot at quarterback. So when you're returning some experience at that position, it can definitely lead to a faster start than programs where they're breaking in a new guy. So I think offensively, the 2 quarterbacks will go through them, and we need to be ready for both of them. I actually bet they probably play 2 different quarterbacks and styles of offenses during the game. And then I think on defense, they've got the ability to rush the passer. They're an odd front team, which sometimes creates more like blitzing opportunities and chaos. Would be maybe more of their MO than playing good sound-based defense, like 4-down defense. So, I think that those are the things schematically and a few of the players to look for. But we need to play our best. We just need to, every single week. I really don't care who we're playing. We need to have an unbelievable game plan that we are all confident in, and we need to go execute it as coaches and players. We need to call great games, manage the game appropriately, put our players in position to have success, and they will make plays when we do that. So I just can't wait to get out here. It's gonna be sold out. I feel like we've been waiting a long time for a game.
Well, we're in the same boat together, and then you got to wait all day for it. 6 p.m. and that's going to be your first few games, and that's great. We love night games. They're cool, and the weather's cooler. That's partly why you do it. What do you do all day when it's a 6 p.m. game?
I would do anything to play a bunch. I would love some 11 a.m. kicks, John. There's nothing better than an 11 a.m. kick, and you go out there and play great. It's 2:30, and you got your day in front of you. But no, we actually this fall camp did a few days where we started our practice at 6 in the evening, just for the players and coaches to get used to waiting around all day for practice. We all would love to get practice knocked out in the morning and then watch the film. But we practice for this. We bring them in the morning. We do a walkthrough. We feed them breakfast, and then they have about 4 hours off. They come back for whether it's chapel or meetings or pregame meal, and then they've all kind of got their routines that they go through from 2 to 6 before kickoff. We did a mock game on Saturday where we went through everything from the intro video to the locker room to the walkout to almost any situation that can arise in a football game. We went through that last Saturday, so we're ready to go from an operational standpoint. But yeah, the 6 o'clock games are probably great for fans and everybody that's waiting around for it. I wouldn't mind some earlier kicks at some point.
I was going to leave it at that and wrap it up, but since you mentioned you had sounds like a scrimmage, or if that's what you want to call it, who really stuck out, or what stuck out?
So that was more, the interesting thing about that. So we call it a mock game, which isn't necessarily so much for the evaluation and scrimmage. It is, John, it's literally, hey guys, this is how we come out of the tunnel. This is where we stretch. This is where you do, because on game day, it's much different. Hey guys, we only have half the field. So here's where your drills are. And then we go through the mechanics of, okay, it's a kickoff and it's a touchback and the offense comes out. And then I would script, it's almost a rehearsal. I would say, okay, on the third play, the offense is going to score a touchdown. Okay. Then we're going to go for 2 to work that. I mean, we work things that can and will go wrong. Like, hey, we only have 10 players on the field. What are we going to do? Who's going in the game? Am I going to call timeout? Do we take a delay? We went through, what do you do if you get a safety against you or you get a safety? What if it's a kicking off from the 50-yard line after a penalty, or kicking off after the 20-yard line due to a penalty? Onside kicks, hands team. I mean, it's about an hour and a half of just every situation you can get. Okay, we're on the extra point field goal team and we bobble the snap. What happens? Well, we're going to roll out and we're going to run fire, and here's our play that we're going to run there. It's and you could even do more. There's more things. It's a 2-minute drill where we need to get the ball and get out of bounds and work quickly down the field, and then run your field goal team on there because you don't have any timeouts, and so you got to run them on there and time that out. It's even things it's the end of the game and we're up and the offense has the ball and running back breaks free, when to go down, why he's going down, because now we can take a knee. Don't just run into the end zone. So smart teams win, and oftentimes situational football is what I mean when I say that. And it's hard to practice. It's tough if you don't make it a priority. So we'll do a bunch more of that this week too.
All right. Well, you're doing nothing to help me get through the week.
Yeah, let's go. There's some good games on Thursday too. Hopefully you can turn those on. There's some good FCS games
and some good D2 games around the around the neighborhood as well. Always a pleasure, Dan. We'll chat again next Monday. Good luck.
Looking forward to it, brother. Thanks.
Head coach, SDSU, Dan Jackson, here on Happy Hour. Cheers.
It's still Happy Hour with John Gaskins. This round's on me.
Yeah, super cool that all of the colleges in Southeast South Dakota are starting either Saturday or Thursday. In between those 2 days, we've got a lot of Friday night football, and we've got a high school game on Saturday. So I will be at Jefferson versus Harrisburg in Harrisburg for the Tiger Bowl. And Zach Borg on Friday night will be at Howard Wood Field. He's got Sioux Falls O'Gorman and Sioux Falls Lincoln. So here we go, 2026 high school football. We're going to have a lot of games for you to watch at SiouxFallsLive.com, at Midwest Sports Plus, the website and the app. Also, KSFL TV televising a game pretty much every Friday night. We got the President's Bowl doubleheader in a few weeks, and can't wait. So let's get it kicked off with one of the coaches of one of the teams in the Metro, one of the best. Sioux Falls Jefferson was a semifinalist last year, lost to Sioux Falls Lincoln in the semis. In fact, that was 2 of their 3 losses in an 8-3 campaign, and they were the only team in the state that beat the state champion, Brandon Valley. And their head coach is Eric Struck. He's in his 2nd year after taking over for Vince Benedetto, who's, of course, now back at South Dakota State where he played. And so I'll ask you the same question I've been asking Jackrabbit coach Dan Jackson at certain checkpoints throughout the last few months. Second year, how's it different from being in charge of your program in the first year? And certainly we'd all expect it's a lot smoother. So in what ways?
Well, one, thanks for having me on, John. I think the biggest, advantage, I guess, the second year is just the familiarity with everyone, coaching staff, players, school administration, like you name it. Last year, I was trying to find my way around the building and how do I get to my classroom and all this and that. And now it's, it's like a second home. I'm here all the time. So, coaches, certain drills that were different that we did in practice and maybe what they've done in the past, they kind of understand now what that is, what that looks like, what's the tempo of that drill. Kids, same way, practice expectations, weight room expectations, like those things don't necessarily need to be said every day now. The kids just understand this is the way it is, and coming in with a different offense, it was like trying to teach a second language. Now I can just say, whatever our play is and the kids automatically know what I'm talking about. So a lot less having to talk on my end and a lot more just getting to being familiar with the kids and building relationships and just going out and doing our thing.
Yeah. You came to Jefferson from Lincoln, where you coached back-to-back state championships with the Schaefer brothers, one with Tate, one with Brody, under Jared Fredenberg, a defensive-minded head coach. And I'm not sure you can tell me what kind of free rein he gave you to call plays, or if there were certain situations where he's the boss, but you got to be full-blown boss calling the offense last year. How was that experience for you, and how different was it, if at all?
The football part of it it's the same, I think. Coach Fredenberg was awesome to work with. Yeah, he might, try to guide me in a certain way or give me some suggestions here, or maybe try to rein me in once in a while if we're getting a little too crazy. But for the most part, he just let me go and kind of establish our identity and who we were, as a tempo offense and things like that. So coming and being the head coach now, like the football part of it, been doing it for 26 years now. It's all the administrative stuff that was, obviously a lot different. The fundraising, the hiring of coaches, talking to kids, parents, organizing things, making sure we have tables set up for whatever, our fundraiser night, things like that. Just all the stuff outside of football that was way different that, honestly, I don't know if anybody would really be 100% prepared for something like that.
I know I wouldn't be, but hey, now you got all that under control, and let's talk football. We'll start with your side of the ball. You lose Daeveon Simsonsen, one of the best running backs in the state. It's a young high school. There were only 5 previous seasons, but he was the all-time career yards terror upper, and now he's at USF, just an absolute dynamo. But you do return both quarterbacks who split time. And as you mentioned, you like to run a tempo offense. And Jace Unzen, explosive wide receiver, track star. So how much different or how much more effective do you feel like the offense can be now that you have most of your components back?
I think, number one, just starting with the experience at quarterback, both Kaysen and Boston last year were young. Kaysen was a junior, Boston was a sophomore. And then you had on top of that, they have to learn essentially their second offense during their high school career, and not really having a ton of time to learn all that, to where we've had, 2 full off seasons, essentially 2 full summers, an entire season of that. So their familiarity, their how comfortable they are with everything. It's evident just watching in practice how much quicker the ball gets out, how much more comfortable they are in the pocket, how much better they are, like as far as footwork and things go. And then on top of that, we've got guys that we can get the ball to that could do special things. I'll put our receiver core up against anybody with Jace Unzen, Tyson Tees, Montanel Jensen, and then Tyler Brusky at tight end. I think those 4 guys are all legit college-type football players that play and that play at a high level, and they're special. So we just need to get them the ball as much as we can and just let them do their thing. And I think that'll help us a lot.
Sure. The new part of this is Devonte Wilson. He's a transfer from Lincoln, and he put up some great numbers. I mean, he would average 8 or 9 yards a carry. And he would only get 8, 10, 12 carries a game, a lot of games, and especially the closer ones Lincoln would play. And so, close to 90 yards. He had plenty of games over 100. I would expect he wouldn't transfer to Jefferson unless he expects to be even more of a focal point of an offense. What has it been like to have him there?
He's added some depth to our running back room. Last year, Quentin Huddleston was Daeveon's backup, and I think he finished with around 300 or 400 yards. He's a smaller body type, really shifty, but he's really tough, really strong. And Devonte is like from a body type, kind of the opposite of Q. He's a bigger type body, so those two complement each other really well. So that gives us some really good backfield depth. And if you couple those two with our receivers, like we feel, defense is going to have to pick their poison. And if we have to run it 50 times, we got two guys back there that can split that load and wear down a defense and have success.
Okay. When it comes to those quarterbacks, it felt like when they were both healthy, and this is where my mind jogs, is you had Boston Bryant, who was a sophomore last year, and he would a lot of times start drives, and then Mettinger would be more the guy when you get to the red zone, closer to the goal line. Is that kind of what you're looking for again? And I guess the bigger picture is you clearly are comfortable with having two quarterbacks in a game every game. Why is that?
That goes back to when I coached at Washington with Coach Hermanson. Matt Hermanson was our starting quarterback and starting safety. So we needed a way to get him a break. And we had this really good young quarterback in John Hander, who we could come in and he would handle just a small part of the offense, kind of similar to what we did last year, kind of a two tight end type of deal. That was just to give Matt kind of a break. In this instance, they're both very good football players. So how do you keep them both involved without maybe necessarily upsetting the rhythm of the team, upsetting the rhythm of the offense? So instead of, trying to alternate series and things like that, because if one guy's hot, you don't really want to pull him, but then he has to sit for a while. Can we just do it this way, where one guy kind of has the main piece of the offense and the other guy has kind of the supplemental part of it? Still has to know everything, but doesn't maybe have to worry about quite as much on a game-to-game basis. So we're going to continue that. We're just going to essentially flip it, I suppose. Like Kaysen has had a really good he finished really strong last year, and then he's had a tremendous offseason. So he's going to kind of take over the main piece, and then Boston will be that other guy. Boston's a big, strong dude. He's 200 pounds. He's one of the strongest kids on the football team. So that adds kind of an element to that two tight end heavy type of personnel package where maybe he can run it a little bit, but we still have some really good weapons on the outside that the other team has to worry about.
Got it. You kind of mentioned it. What is Mettinger's strength that has allowed him to kind of be more of the traditional starter role at the very least?
He just his comfort level and his decision making are head and shoulders above where they were last year. It took him, probably month and a half into the summer to kind of settle down and kind of understand what we're trying to do. And he's really just picked up where he left off last season. He was 20 of 22 in the playoff game against Washington. He was on fire. He had a pretty good game against Lincoln. His decision making has been really, really good, really consistent. He's made some difficult reads. Our defense is a tough one. They're all over the place, flying around, and he has a good handle on being able to see rotations and disguises and all that kind of stuff. Not that Boston struggles with that. It's just Kaysen's probably just made a few more plays here and there that have separated him.
Gotcha. Flip over to the defensive side. You got Anthony Petrone, who had 14 sacks last year, all-state defensive lineman. Amazingly, first full season at that spot. So he's just getting going, and he seems like a pretty sharp kid. He was part of the Camp Confidential preview that Brian Mueller put together for Midwest Sports Plus, and for SiouxFallsLive.com, where people can find that. Your defensive coordinator is still Ed Whiting, right?
Correct.
This is a man who was working under Kim Nelson at Roosevelt, went over to Jefferson when the school changed, and both originally, and then again when Vince Benedetto left. In both cases, he applied for the head coaching job. He didn't get it. He stays with you. And I'm curious now, after 1 year with him, how you guys work together, and if he's going to do anything differently than be the biggest blitzing coach out there is.
Well, one, like having previous relationship with Ed, having coached against him for a long time. We have kids similar ages, going through the junior football, softball circuit, all that kind of stuff. So that was a pretty easy, pretty smooth transition. On top of the fact that he's just a really good human being. I mean, obviously disappointed, and who wouldn't be, but he jumped right in and did everything he could to make me feel comfortable and get me up to speed. And, it's obviously a great resource for me and someone I can lean on all the time. You have the defense, you do it, run it. And I think our philosophies mesh really well. He wants to constantly attack and cause chaos for the opposing offense. And on our side of the ball, we kind of try to do the same thing for the defense. So I think those two philosophies that we have, they mesh really well, and it's been a really good relationship. As far as new stuff, you'll have to come to the game or watch the game here on Midwest Sports to see maybe, but I can't give away the secrets. But some things are going to stay tried and true. We're going to try to cause chaos, and we're going to attack. We feel really good about the 11 guys we have starting on defense as far as their athleticism and strength and things like that.
I've never seen an Ed Whiting game where they're not constantly putting pressure on the quarterback. And with Harrisburg, they have a couple of possibilities that they, as far as I can tell from our Camp Confidential piece on them, they haven't decided. And they also kind of have a two-headed monster at running back. They've got an offensive line and a defensive line that's experienced. That could be gold early in a high school football season. When we're talking specifically about not quite knowing who's going to be their quarterback, who's going to be their running back, how does that affect a game plan, both for the defense under Ed, but also for the way you're going to call offense on Saturday?
Sure. I think everybody's got questions that going into that first game. You don't want to try to overthink it and overanalyze, who do they have? What are they going to do? It's more about making sure, from our perspective, we can get lined up right. We could communicate. We minimize pre-snap penalties, turnovers on off, those kind of things. You're more worried about making sure you can play your best game. We know it's going to be sloppy. That's what happens. That first game. We went back and watched last year's first game, and it was pretty ugly, and that's with 5 seniors on the O-line and things like that. But you got to get the one out of the way so you can kind of see what you have. So it's more about us. You're playing Harrisburg, that they're going to have talented players. They're going to be well coached. They're going to be prepared. So you got to get in the mix. That first couple of series, that first quarter, see kind of maybe what their philosophy is for their team this year, and then you're just going to have to make those adjustments from there.
All right, and then the field. Look, Brandon Valley and Lincoln have played for each of the last 2 state titles, and Lincoln's played in 3 finals in a row. O'Gorman is always kind of in there. You and Harrisburg are always knocking on the door. How do you see the 11 AAA race this year?
I think it's pretty wide open. It's one of those years where it seems like everybody lost a really good senior class that had played, had some difference makers that had played for a couple years. So they're replacing a lot of leadership and talent. So those teams that have, maybe I'll just use Brody Schaefer for an example, that quality type of leader that has that experience, they're going to have the edge probably early on. But those teams, that can stay healthy and build depth as the season goes on. I look at, our situation and where we're at with the offensive line. If we could kind of just, tread water the first few weeks and just continually improve there, I feel like we'll be one of those teams at the end. Brandon Valley, I'm sure, feels the same way. They just need experience, but they've always got those guys. They just kind of got to get all those moving parts moving at the same time in the same place, and they'll be there. Obviously Lincoln and, Harrisburg is always there too. It's just maybe finding out, how much depth does an O'Gorman have? What is their lines like? That's traditionally, they've been a little undersized. Will they be able to hang in there? Washington had a bounce back here. Can that continue? I think Roosevelt feels really good about their progress and where they're at. They got a lot of experience. So I think it's just, to me, it's really wide open. It's who can stay the healthiest and who's just making consistent progress so that when we hit the playoffs, you're playing your best.
Eric, it's always a pleasure. Looking forward to seeing your team against Harrisburg on Saturday, 6 o'clock on SiouxFallsLive.com. Definitely on Midwest Sports Plus. That's where we want everybody to go. Midwest Sports Plus. Get the app. Enjoy the games on your TV sets. And Sioux Falls, Lincoln hosting O'Gorman on Friday on those spots, plus on KSFL TV, channel 36 in Sioux Falls, channel 616 if you have Midco cable. Thanks, Eric. Appreciate it.
You bet. Thank you. Thanks for all the high school coverage.
Oh, we're looking forward to it. Stay right there. And that's it for today's happy hour. For video producer Cordell Wright, for Dan Jackson at SDSU, for Eric Struck at Jefferson, I'm John. Happy hour, and cheers.
You need anything else, John?
No, I think I'm good, Greg. I think I'm going to tap out.
All right. Have a good night.